Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 233. Without any delay, start explanation. The remaining 6 monsters inside the deep pit were already half buried by the rubble. However, most of the shockwave did not reach the ground. At the edge of her field of vision, Yixinglan was the only one who could see a silver orb of light suddenly burst out and flew away in the final moments before the explosion ended. The ball of light vanished without a trace. It had ended. It seemed that this was truly the end of everything. The terrifying explosion had finally ended. Yixinglan swept away the earth beside her. She was the first one to leap up. She then pulled everyone else out of the mound. A crying sound was heard as Xu Xiaoyan could no longer suppress the sadness within her. She burst into tears, and Yu Jingyu quickly pulled her into his embrace. Yixinglan's expression was very grim as she lowered her voice and said, "Now is not the time to cry. We don't have the right. The pavilion master paid with his life and gave us a chance to live." Tang Wulin blocked the attacks of the fixed soul ammunition with his body. "We must live on for Shrek. We're already the last seeds. We're the Shrek 7 monsters. We must shoulder the heavy burden of avenging Shrek. Come with me." As she said this, she turned around and ran swiftly toward the wall of the deep abyss. Yuan and Yehue carried Yoli in her arms and followed closely behind her. Xie gritted his teeth and followed beside her. Shu Lishi's chubby face was slightly twisted, and his lips were pursed tightly together. Xu Xiaoyan wiped her tears away. Following Yu Jingyu, she followed behind everyone else. They could not give in to sadness. They had no rights to be sad. When they were faced with a great calamity, their highest priority was to live on. For themselves, for Shrek Academy, and for the Tang sect. There was no way that Yixinglan could be that calm. How could she not be in pain? However, Tang Wulin's fate was unknown after he rescued his companions. He was nowhere to be found, and she could not let his sacrifice be in vain. She had to bring her friends out of this place. First, they must survive, for only by that would they have a chance. The training on Demon Island gave them stronger willpower than the average person. That was the reason they did not break down under such crushing pain. As long as they lived, Shrek would still have its seeds, and by extension, the possibility of revival. Crunch! The crystal cup fell onto the floor and shattered into pieces. The speaker was pale as the blood drained from his face. Shrek City was completely obliterated by 2 Godkiller-ranked fixed soul ammunitions. Shrek Academy was completely annihilated. His body was trembling uncontrollably. Since he held a high office, he should have stayed extremely calm. However, how could he stay calm at this moment? He knew full well what the destruction of Shrek City meant. Even though he had wished to completely control Shrek City, he never considered destroying the best academy on the continent, which had a 20,000-year legacy. Although Shrek Academy was neutral, it was doubtlessly protecting the continent. It was truly the central pillar of the Dolor continent. Moreover, Shrek Academy had graduates all over the world. If the academy was destroyed by the 2 Godkillers, which should have been heavily guarded by Congress, there was no way that they could shirk off the responsibility. Not only would his official career be at an end, but also the entire Federal Congress, maybe even the entire continent, would be in chaos. Investigate? Investigate the Godkillers now. Go? The speaker managed to calm himself down somewhat as he relayed a series of orders. Even if he knew that all this would not be of any help. Shrek City's destruction would put the most pressure in all the land squarely on his shoulders. Why? Why? Tell me why? Heavenly Phoenix Dolor Lengyeju's eyes were bloodshot. Her ladylike hand slammed loudly onto the console table in front of her. The highly durable console table, which was made of various alloys, instantly turned into fine powder. A middle-aged man stood behind the console table. He was big, tall, and had handsome features. He had a high nose bridge and slightly small eyes. A powerful imposing aura emanated from him. His brows furrowed as he looked at Ling Yaozhu with her bloodshot eyes. "Yaozhu, calm down. This incident was truly too sudden. I'm also at a loss. As for how it happened, we'll have to wait until the investigations are complete. Qiangu Dongfeng, do you take me for a 3-year-old? Do you think I'm unaware as to what kind of a person you are? Even if the Holy Spirit cult had powerful methods, it's not possible for them to obtain God-killers that easily. How could they transport that amount of fixed soul ammunition into Shrek City? How could all this be possible without your support from behind the scenes? Was this you? Was it you? As she said this, Lin Yaozhu raised her hand and pointed at the Spirit Pagoda Master. She thrust her finger at this great power of the generation, Qiangu Dongfeng, who was equally famous as the Atlas Doluo, as she howled furiously. Qiangu Dongfeng's expression turned grim. "Du Yao, you're my deputy Spirit Pagoda Master. How could you support outsiders instead of your own people? Moreover, how could this have anything to do with me? Have you forgotten that our founder, Spirit Ice Doluo Huiyuhao, was a member of his generation's Shrek 7 monsters? We have no quarrel with Shrek Academy. Why would we harm them? Besides, do you think that I have absolute control of everything here?" When he said this, his tone became slightly gentler. "Du Yao, this incident happened too suddenly. I'm also in a terrible fix and at a total loss. Who would have thought that the Holy Spirit cult would be bold enough to pull off such a feat? To go so far as to directly attack Shrek Academy and the Tang sect headquarters. Do you think that the strengthening of the Holy Spirit cult would benefit us? I can only be the fox who's sad at the death of the hare. The thing that we must tend to now is to recover the dead and help the wounded, all while searching for the traces of the Holy Spirit cult, and fight against them with all our might. I know that Yun Ming's death is a heavy blow to you. I'm very sorry for that, but we must handle this incident calmly." Calmly? How am I supposed to be calm? Lin Yaozhu's breathing was clearly ragged. "Qiangu Dongfeng, if I ever find that you had anything to do with this, I'll fight you with everything I've got, even if it's the last thing I do." After she said this, Lin Yaozhu turned on her heel and left, leaving behind the grim-faced Spirit Pagoda Master. Qiangu Dongfeng looked on bitterly as he watched Lin Yaozhu leave. Of course, he knew why she would suspect him. He had been pursuing Lin Yaozhu for many years, but Lin Yaozhu had never given up on that Yun Ming. Even when Yun Ming married Holy Spirit Doluo Yoli, she still did not forget about him. She never married after so many years. All this time, the Spirit Pagoda and Shrek Academy had been growing apart. Part of the reason was this convoluted relationship between their members. Pagoda Master. A side door slid open. An average-looking but extremely pithy middle-aged man walked out quickly to Qiangu Dongfeng's side. "What's the situation?" "Shrek Academy is completely destroyed, there are no survivors. It's said that the current Shrek 7 monsters were also inside the academy. Yun Ming had forfeited his semigod status at the final moment and gained temporary godly strength, which he used to negate most of the destructive power from the 2 god-killers and saved half the population of Shrek City. However, as the center of the explosion, there were no survivors in Shrek Academy and the Tang sect headquarters. They even fired another rank 9 fixed soul ammunition in Shrek Academy's direction as the final sweep. But the Holy Spirit cult had also suffered great losses this time. In order to activate 2 god-killers, they had sacrificed nearly 20 soul Doluo-ranked evil soul masters, and hundreds of middle-ranked evil soul masters. Yun Ming's attack before his demise had also destroyed their World Destroyer skull. Other than the Holy Spirit cult's cult master, who fled, a total of 8 titled Duluos from the Holy Spirit cult were killed. It can be said that they were injured in their sinews or bones. Qiangu Dongfeng squinted his eyes slightly. Surprisingly, he displayed a satisfied expression. "Very good. As expected, Yun Ming didn't disappoint me. Even though the Holy Spirit cult had hidden for 10,000 years, amassed their strengths, and plotted against Shrek Academy for such a long time, they still paid a dear price in the end. Suffering losses on both sides was the best outcome of the situation. You may go and follow the original plan. Organize a team of experts from the pagoda and search for the remnants of the Holy Spirit cult. Once found, kill them without reservations. Now is the time for us to clearly display the flag of our stand. The complete destruction of Shrek Academy will inevitably lead to the dissolving of Congress under the pressure from the people. We must seize this opportunity to fight for more seats in Congress. The pagoda master is intelligent. We can kill many birds with one stone. A certain admiration was displayed in the middle-aged man's eyes. Qiangu Dongfeng eyed him coldly. What do you mean, killing many birds with one stone? We've done nothing. I see no joy in the destruction of Shrek Academy. The middle-aged man understood immediately and hastily nodded as he said, yes, we're also very sorry for what happened to Shrek Academy. Go. I'll send out a Spirit Pagoda wanted circular after this and put all evil soul masters on the wanted list. I trust that you know how to cooperate. Remember, do not leave any trail behind. At the same time, have someone keep an eye on the whereabouts of the Vice Pagoda Master. Don't let her cause any trouble. Understood. The middle-aged man left the room. Qiangu Dongfeng walked to the bed. Slightly squinting, he looked at the faraway clouds outside the window. He seemed to be lost in thought. It hurts. The intense pain shocked Tang Wulin into consciousness. He felt as if all his joints were dislocated. With his body's qualities, he rarely felt such pain other than when he was breaking through the Golden Dragon King's seals. Did I die? Am I dead? He slowly regained consciousness and recalled everything that happened before this. He truly hoped it was a dream, that it would all disappear when he opened his eyes. Yeah. It must be a dream. Shrek Academy's so powerful, how could it be destroyed? With great difficulty, he opened his eyes. He discovered with shock that his vision was met with a green scene. As his sight recovered, his hearing also returned slowly. Tang Wulin noticed that he was in a world filled with the chatterings of insects. This was a forest. There was intense pain all over his body. It hurt so much. Am I still alive? He blinked and struggled to move his body, but he realized that he could not do anything. He took a slow, deep breath, then he focused his spirit and looked within himself. Tang Wulin discovered that his soul power vortex and bloodline vortex were both very weak. His meridians were damaged in many places. Even his inner organs were displaced. With such serious injuries, any ordinary person would have been dead. However, he felt that his body was recovering gradually. His dauntless bloodline power flowed within his body and pushed his meridians and organs back to their original positions. They were being reconnected as well. I'm not dead. Is everything real? Why am I in a forest? Various puzzling thoughts lingered in his mind. However, Tang Wulin knew that the most important thing now was to recover as soon as possible. He could only get answers to his questions after his body had healed. After he regained consciousness, his body recovered at a much quicker pace. Under his control, his bloodline power moved his organs back to their original positions as easily as the hand directed the fingers. Next, his meridians were swiftly mended. At the same time, he activated the soul power vortex in his energy center as he absorbed the origin energy from the outside world to replenish his body. Fortunately, the origin energy here was sufficient. Moreover, he was a plant system battle soul master. In this place where plants were bountiful, it was much easier for him to cultivate. Time went by as Tang Wulin's meridians and organs were fully healed. The pain gradually subsided. A portion of his soul power even gathered within his energy center. When he finally opened his eyes, he was able to observe the outer world with greater clarity. The first thing that came into view was a towering tree which reached up into the skies. He flipped over and got up on his feet. He was fortunate that he still had his recovery ability. He did not die even after taking the blow from the fixed soul ammunition. It was a miracle. He was lost in his thoughts when suddenly, he saw another person lying on the ground not far from him. The person was dressed in a white blouse and a skirt. She lay there, motionless. The instant he saw her, Tang Wulin felt his heart skip a beat. His memory was finally coming back to him. He remembered the person who suddenly appeared in his embrace during the final moments. He rushed to the side of the lady. He carefully flipped her over. She looked familiar and had a beautiful face. Was this not Enea? The only difference was that she appeared to be 2 or 3 years older than Enea. It's real. It's all real. Tang Wulin hastily felt her pulse. She still had a pulse, albeit throbbing weakly. Her clothes were torn in many places, exposing her fair skin. However, Tang Wulin did not bother himself with other thoughts. He carefully carried her in his arms and cautiously infused her with his mysterious heaven method soul power. Her meridians seemed fine, only her aura was extremely weak. Tang Wulin only realized she had no clothes on her back when he carried her. His hands touched her silky smooth and fair skin. He was completely aware at this moment. He remembered vividly that she had suddenly appeared in his embrace back then. Just when he shouted, "Guu, I love you," she appeared in his arms. Her voice was very familiar. However, why did she say that she was Guu? Her voice and aura were so familiar, but she had Enea's looks. For a time, Tang Wulin was puzzled. He had no idea what was happening. There was definitely no mistake. Tang Wulin was truly familiar with the aura she had. Back then, when Guu was studying with him, they were in contact frequently. They had grown up together since their childhood days. Through the many years spent together, they became very close friends. She had an important place in his heart. It was impossible for Tang Wulin to mistake her for anyone else. There was a faint fragrance about her. Her maiden's fragrance gladdened the heart and freshened the mind. Enea, on the other hand, had a faint smell of cream. It was much different from the scent Guu had. Currently, this young lady resembled a grown-up Enea, but with Guu's smell. How is that? Suddenly, Tang Wulin remembered something. He hastily looked at the young lady's neck. He clearly remembered that there was an oval-shaped birthmark below her neck on the collarbone. It was very faint. If he had not paid attention before, it would be impossible for him to have noticed. There is one. She's Guu. Tang Wulin found the birthmark at first glance. Other things might be fabricated, but not a birthmark. However, what was the explanation for her appearance? Tang Wulin carefully rubbed the sides of her face a few times. He had learned about the art of disguise before. Contrary to his expectations, her appearance remained the same. He could not find any traces of disguise on her face. Also, the current Guu had silver hair. He parted one of her eyelids slightly. Her pupil was purple. Silver hair and purple eyes, it was clearly Enea's characteristics. Tang Wulin was truly dumbfounded. Whether it was Guu or Enea who had returned, he would be extremely happy. However, this young lady seemed to be the combination of Guu and Enea. It was mind-blowing. The overall feeling she gave was more like Guu, but her appearance. Could it be that Guu had learned a way of disguising herself so much so that even he could not see through? It was the only explanation. Holding her in his arms, all sorts of emotions welled up within Tang Wulin. He had never expected that she would come to his side at the crucial moment. Also, he distinctly remembered that she had shielded him from the fatal attack with her body. However, why were they here? Where was this place? No matter what, saving her was his top priority currently. He carefully infused his soul power into Guu. However, Guu's body was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much he infused, his soul power would vanish without a trace. Guu did not show any response as well. Tang Wulin suddenly remembered something. He recalled that he felt a chilly sensation on his chest before Guu appeared. He instinctively touched his chest and coincidentally touched the necklace Guu had left him back then. The pendant was a silver scale. He raised the scale to have a look, and he immediately had a hunch in his heart. Could it be that the scale Guu left him would convey her to his side when he was in danger of dying? If that was the case, then everything could be explained. The person in his embrace was definitely Guu. Why did you have to go through such troubles? Tang Wulin hugged Guu's beautiful body tightly. If the person in his arms did not have Enea's appearance, he was afraid that he would not be able to restrain himself from giving her a kiss. He would at least wait until she regained consciousness to ask her about her presence. Gu did not regain consciousness. After infusing her with soul power for some time, Tang Wulin felt that he could not sustain the infusion. He needed to meditate to recover his soul power first. Although Gu was still unconscious, fortunately, her aura was quite stable. He restored his soul power and infused it into her, then he restored it again before infusing it. The process was repeated a few more times before Tang Wulin finally sensed Gu's aura becoming condensed. It was a good sign which confirmed that the infusion of his soul power was effective. The sky darkened, indicating that night had come. The sky gradually brightened, signifying the dawning of a new day. Tang Wulin had already infused his soul power into Gu 7 times. He continued cultivating and infusing without any break, so much so that he was completely exhausted. After the 8th time, Tang Wulin sensed that Gu's aura was back to normal, but she had not awakened yet. He then coaxed his exhausted body to enter into the meditative state once more. He circulated his soul power. After possessing his soul power vortex, the rate at which he could restore his soul power was obviously faster than before. His soul power was restored an hour later, and he did not feel as lethargic. When he opened his eyes, Tang Wulin saw a pair of big, purple eyes staring into him at close proximity. It happened so suddenly that he was startled and almost lost his breath. Fortunately, the soul power vortex in his body managed to react in time and guided his power back to normal again. "You scared me. You're awake." Tang Wulin panted a few times before he managed to calm himself as he looked at Gu. His shock soon turned by joy. Gu sat in front of him with her upper body dressed in his clothes. Her clothes were torn so badly that it barely provided any cover. Tang Wulin helped her change into his clothes with his eyes closed. It was strictly a private affair between them. His clothes hung loosely on her as they were obviously a little big for her. Gu sat in front of him as she blinked her huge eyes. Her pupils were akin to two small ponds that reflected Tang Wulin's smile. "Gu?" Tang Wulin attempted to ask. Gu suddenly smiled. She was initially exquisite, yet her smile stupefied Tang Wulin. "Father." Plop! Tang Wulin was sitting upright earlier when his body, all of a sudden, toppled sideways. He scrambled to sit up swiftly as he watched Gu in bewilderment. What did you just call me?" Gu seemed to be slightly astonished from his tumble. She stretched out her hand and pulled his sleeve while she stuck her other thumb into her mouth and sucked at it. She muttered to herself, "Father." Tang Wulin's eyes rolled upward. He almost lost consciousness. What was happening? "Gu, stop joking." "You." "Father," Gu called out once again. Her voice sounded as if she was wronged. Tears misted over her beautiful pair of purple eyes instantly. It seemed like she was about to cry. What? She did not appear to be feigning it. Tang Wulin rubbed his brows. Don't cry, don't cry. Please allow me to have a quiet moment and think this through." Gu pouted her lips as she looked at Tang Wulin. Her hand tugged at his sleeve. "Father, I'm hungry." Shrek Academy had perished. Tang Wulin's heart was initially filled with sadness, yet he had forgotten the sorrow briefly when he was called father by Gu just now. "Sure. I'll get you some food," said Tang Wulin as he tried to calm himself with great effort. He carried the storage ring with him. As a foodie, there was never a lack of food in his storage ring. He procured some dry rations and passed them to Gu. Gu proceeded to eat in huge mouthfuls. However, her expression reflected her dissatisfaction. She mumbled to herself as she was eating, "Not tasty, this isn't tasty." Tang Wulin felt helpless as well. How could the dry rations possibly taste good? It gradually dawned upon him as he looked at Gu's expressions, which were becoming more obvious than before. Could it be that she had amnesia? If so, why was she calling him father? "Gu, why do you address me as father?" Tang Wulin asked in an attempt to gather more information. Gu looked at him in confusion. "The first person I see is my father." Her voice sounded childish and even had a slight lisp, but apparently, she was speaking in all seriousness. The first person she sees is her father? Isn't this the law of the animal world? He had a mind full of questions as he faced Guu, who had Enea's facial features. Yet, he could not ask them aloud no matter how hard he tried at present. Guu finished the dry rations. She appeared to be full but still unsatisfied. Father, it's not tasty. I wish to eat something tasty. Sure. Let me figure out a way, Tang Wulin spoke with a bitter smile on his face. Guu wrapped her arms around his arms in excitement and leaned her head against his shoulder. She had this look of dependence. Tang Wulin stood up. He finally had the energy to pay attention to his surroundings at present. It was a lush green forest that felt boundless. There was no sign of human cultivation while the flora, which was taller than a person, covered the surroundings. The life source here was extremely thick, but he felt a vague sense of danger. Where was this? If it was not a dream, then he should have been struck by high-ranked fixed-soul ammunition together with Guu and ended up in this baffling place upon waking up. Forget about it. I'll take it a step at a time. Since it's a forest, we should be able to walk out of it. At this point, Tang Wulin patted and held Guu's hand as they walked further inside the forest. His left hand held Guu's hand while his right hand held the golden dragon spear which he used to clear a path for them to walk through. He soon realized that the golden dragon spear was unnecessary. It was strange because the surrounding vegetation in this huge forest seemed to be filled with friendly feelings. The grass and vines where he passed would part in the middle and opened up a path for him. It was a smooth and pleasant walk. What's going on? Although my martial soul has become the Blue Silver Emperor after its second awakening, it hasn't always been this obvious in the past. Could it be because of my fifth soul ring? Nature's child? Tang Wulin stopped walking and focused his spirit to sense the great nature's aura in his surroundings. As expected, he could clearly sense the friendly feelings emitted from the numerous plants. It was as if all the plants were greeting him. He would certainly yield twice the result with half the effort if he were to cultivate in this place. What a waste that Tang Wulin did not even have the slightest intention to cultivate at present. He only wished to leave this place soon. He wanted to survey the situation at Shrek City and search for his comrades before figuring out Guu's condition to heal her. He felt tired spiritually and emotionally right now due to the sudden change of events. He turned his head to look at Guu by his side. He felt much better with her presence as it would be an agony to be here alone. Father. Guu realized that Tang Wulin was looking at her, so she smiled sweetly at him. Tang Wulin spoke with a bitter smile on his face. Can you please stop calling me father? Do you know you're giving me goosebumps by calling me that? This is truly. Guu pouted with tears shimmering in her eyes. She spoke as if she was wronged. Father, are you leaving me? Tang Wulin felt helpless. No. Of course, I'm not leaving you. Good girl, do as you wish then. Father, give me a hug. Guu spread her arms out toward Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin was speechless. Guu had already pounced on him in excitement. She hung onto his body like an octopus wrapping its prey. Her head full of long silver hair blew in the wind with her bell-like laughter ringing in the ears. Tang Wulin could only support her buttocks with a hand. Guu was still bouncing up and down on his arms. At this moment, Tang Wulin was overwhelmed by the close physical contact with Guu, yet he felt helpless. Guu wrapped her arms around Tang Wulin's neck and leaned her head against his shoulder. Again, she had the look of dependence. The helplessness in Tang Wulin's heart turned into affection. He caressed her long hair softly. He did not let her go but supported her with one hand as he walked forward. He barely felt Guu's weight. Tang Wulin had never expected that Guu would be so dependent on him at this point. When he tried to get her off of him, she stubbornly refused. In the end, he went from holding her in his arms to carrying her on his back. Riding astride him, Guu giggled as he walked farther into the depths of the forest. I'm so thankful. Tang Wulin looked at the arms hanging before his chest and could not help feeling quite amused. Gu stuck her head forward and kissed him on his cheek. "Father, I love you." Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment. He was about to speak when his instincts kicked in and he leaped into the air. A dark brown shadow flashed underneath his feet before immediately vanishing. If he had remained at his earlier position, he would certainly have been hit. "Who's there?" Tang Wulin shouted aloud, but he did not see anything in the direction the attack came from. Tang Wulin scowled as an icy cold aura burst out from his body. Blue-silver emperor vines surged out from underneath his feet like a swarm of bees and spread out in all directions. He was in a forest, so this place was, to put it simply, the battlefield made for him. What happened next even left Tang Wulin astonished. When his blue-silver emperor martial soul bored into the ground, his perception immediately radiated outward. He had already achieved Spirit Abyss spiritual power and his ability was strong enough that he could cover an area exceeding 300 meters. However, it was normally just a rough map in his consciousness, whereas this time, when his blue-silver emperor fused with the forest, it was as though he could see through God's eye. His spiritual power could sense an even larger area and everything he perceived was projected into his mind in crystal-clear, three-dimensional forms. There was a massive, bulky creature with brown-red fur covering its entire body in the area to Tang Wulin's front left. The figure was leaping about at high speed while Tang Wulin and Gu's position seemed to be the center of its trajectory. Curious, Gu stuck her head out from behind Tang Wulin's shoulder to look at her surroundings. It should be much easier to deal with the incoming person if only he could see them. To Tang Wulin's surprise, it was a scarlet fire monkey, but it was completely different from what he would have expected of one. As far as Tang Wulin knew, the scarlet fire monkey was considered a low-ranked soul beast. Most of them had cultivation bases of 10 to 100 years. It was considered rare to see a 100-year scarlet fire monkey, and it was a solitary hunter. There was nothing impressive about it other than its speed and agility in the forest. Yet this scarlet fire monkey was unique. Its body size was more than 10 times larger than an ordinary scarlet fire monkey. Its length exceeded 7 meters while its brown-red fur was exuding a faint golden shimmer as it moved. What was even more astounding was the third eye on its forehead. The eye had a golden iris and a slit pupil glowing with an otherworldly light as it gazed in Tang Wulin's direction. The radiance emitted from the monkey's third eye was so brilliant that Tang Wulin could still sense it despite being separated by numerous plants. It was as if that vertical slit pupil was staring straight at him. Was it a variant? There was no doubt that it was a variant soul beast. On the other hand, Tang Wulin had an idea as to his current location upon seeing the monkey. Soul beasts were already an endangered species on the Dolor continent. Before this, there was only one place that he had come into contact with a large number of soul beasts. It was the Spirit Ascension platform which imitated the Great Star Do forest controlled by the Spirit Pagoda. Could it be that Gu had brought him into the Spirit Ascension platform? This was entirely possible, for it was not difficult for Gu to bring him into this place given her position at the Spirit Pagoda. Was this the Spirit Ascension platform? The Scarlet Fire Monkey King was already charging in their direction at full speed while Tang Wulin was still stunned. It seemed like the monkey sensed Tang Wulin's observation. In a flash, it scurried onto a huge tree and catapulted itself off of it like a fiery red arrow. Tang Wulin squinted his eyes as a stinging cold glow shimmered in his eyes. He was desolated by the calamity that befell on Shrek Academy. The emotions suppressed in his heart exploded like a bomb when confronted by an assailant. Gu, hold on tight, Tang Wulin commanded softly. Gu hastily placed her arms around his neck tightly as her pair of long legs tightly wrapped around his waist. Tang Wulin's blood essence fluctuation expanded suddenly as he spread out his arms from his sides and his pair of golden dragon claws were unleashed. After he had completed 2 circulation vortexes in his body, Tang Wulin discovered that his martial soul and bloodline power could already exist simultaneously without the need to switch between them. He could finally fight with both his martial soul and bloodline power at the same time. Countless vines of blue-silver emperor surged out from the ground and formed a wall like a blue-silver forest to block the scarlet fire monkey's path. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King was extremely fierce. It spread out its arms and bumped against the blue-silver Emperor vines with scorching hot golden scarlet flames bursting from its entire body. The blue-silver Emperor was still a plant-type martial soul after all. The collision knocked the vines one after another, and before long, it had already arrived before Tang Wulin with unstoppable momentum. It did not pounce onto Tang Wulin immediately because there was an additional pair of feathered wings under the Scarlet Fire Monkey King's armpit such that hindered its acceleration as it dashed forth. Was it using battle tactics? Could a soul beast be that intelligent? The momentary pause was not to be belittled because it was enough to make the opponent completely mistaken its attack trajectory while at the same time its third eye glowed. A powerful spiritual wave immediately surged over him like a rising tide. It was not a direct collision but more of a pressure that pushed down from all directions with Tang Wulin's body as its target. Roar! Tang Wulin raised his head and roared in rage. An enormous golden dragon's head covered his entire body as he unleashed the golden dragon roars. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King's body stiffened in the air for a moment while its powerful spiritual assault retracted after being shocked by the golden dragon roar's spiritual power. However, it was also at this moment when golden lightning burst out from its golden pupil and passed the surrounding warped air before it arrived in front of Tang Wulin instantly with scorching heat. Meanwhile, the creature dove down from the sky with its pair of sharp claws extended as it slashed at Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin stretched out his right golden dragon claw to shield himself and blocked the lightning raining down on him. Scorching heat radiated from the bolt instantly as the powerful energy assault swayed even Tang Wulin's incredible physique. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King seized the opportunity to drop down from the sky as it brandished its pair of sharp claws at Tang Wulin. "Leave!" Tang Wulin shouted in rage as he unleashed the golden dragon soars to the heavens. Gigantic golden dragons arose from underneath his feet and crashed into the Scarlet Fire Monkey King. The explosion screeched as the surrounding forest began to topple away. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King was blasted into the air from the collision, but Tang Wulin also staggered for 2 steps before he managed to stabilize himself. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King dropped onto a huge tree branch in the distance. There was a mixture of surprise and bewilderment in its eyes. It was apparent that it was startled by Tang Wulin's powerful attack. Tang Wulin was slightly less agitated as well. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King was unexpectedly difficult to deal with, not only because its attack was ruthlessly brutal, but it was also equipped with spiritual power. At the same time, its defense was great enough that Tang Wulin's golden dragon soars to the heavens did not manage to harm it in a frontal collision. Remarkably, the attack only compelled it to retreat. It was a 10,000-year soul beast. Not only was it doubtlessly so, but also it was not an ordinary one. It was indeed a variant 10,000-year soul beast. Tang Wulin inhaled a deep breath as he got his emotions under control for a moment. He knew that he could not allow his feelings to affect him when dealing with such an enemy in battle. Tang Wulin squinted his eyes as he stared at the Scarlet Fire Monkey King. His aura began to strengthen. He had not used his battle armor because he was saving it for later. It was his last resort, so he would not unleash it recklessly. If this place was the Spirit Ascension platform, then it was at least the intermediate if not the legendary platform. Otherwise, he would not be confronting such a powerful soul beast. He would need to recover his power as much as possible in order to face whatever unexpected threats that could appear at any time in the future. The Scarlet Fire Monkey King's eyes rolled about when it was suddenly gone in a blur. Surprisingly, it was no longer pouncing toward Tang Wulin but fleeing into the distance. Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment. For sure, the Scarlet Fire Monkey King was exceedingly intelligent. It discovered that Tang Wulin was not an easy target, so it chose to escape immediately. Tang Wulin heaved a sigh of relief as well. He was aware that he would need to devote all his effort in order to defeat the Scarlet Fire Monkey King. A 10,000-year variant soul beast was not easy to deal with unaided. "Father!" The voice calling out to Tang Wulin dampened his raging will to fight. The corner of his mouth twitched before he patted Gu's thigh. "It's fine now. Come down." "All right." Gu reluctantly got down from Tang Wulin's body with a look of lingering fear on her face. "Father, what was that?" "It was so terrifying." This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.